Did you know there are 5 possible methods you could use to solve this quadratic equation? They are factorising, the quadratic formula, completing the square, graphically, and using a calculator. In this video, I'm going to take you through each of those 5 methods and show you how you can get the same 2 solutions to this quadratic every time. Okay, we'll start with the easiest method, and that's solving by factorising. So you're going to take the expression on the left-hand side of the equals and try and factorise it. In this case, it will factorise into double brackets, so 2 brackets, both starting with an x. Then we want 2 numbers that would add to make 4, but also multiply to make negative 12. Those 2 numbers would be positive 6 and negative 2, and that whole thing is equal to 0. Now once you've factorised into brackets, you're going to want to set each bracket individually equal to 0. So the first bracket would be x plus 6 and make that equal to 0. The second bracket, x minus 2, and make that equal to 0. So what you want to do now is just solve these 2 mini linear equations. So the first one, we're going to take away 6 from each side and we'd get x equals negative 6. And on the second one, you're going to add 2 to both sides and you'd get x equals 2. So there are the 2 solutions, x equals negative 6 or x equals positive 2. Right, next up we'll use the quadratic formula. I'd never normally use the quadratic formula to solve an equation like this because it can be solved by factorising, but just for the purpose of this video, let's give it a go. So we need to work out what a, b and c are. A is always the coefficient of x squared, so in this case it's 1x squared, so a is equal to 1. B is the coefficient of x, and in this case we've got a 4x, so b is equal to 4. And c is the third term, so minus 12 in this case. Let's substitute a, b and c into the quadratic formula, see if we get the same 2 answers as last time. So x equals negative b, and when b is equal to 4 that would be negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, b is 4, so 4 squared, minus 4 ac, which means times a times c, so times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 12, all over 2a, and a is 1, so 2 times 1. Next we're going to do some simplifying here, so we can actually say x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus. Now 4 squared is 16, 4 times 1 is obviously 4, times negative 12 is negative 48, so we'd have minus negative 48, that's all being square rooted, and of course 2 times 1 is just equal to 2. If we have a look at the square root sign, we've got 16 minus 48, 2 negatives will turn into a plus. So 16 plus 48 would be 64, square root of 64 all over 2. The square root of 64 is obviously 8, so x is equal to negative 4, and we'll split this plus minus now into plus 8 over 2, or x is going to be equal to negative 4 minus 8 all over 2. Minus 4 plus 8 is 4, divided by 2 is 2, or we've got negative 4 minus 8, which is negative 12, and negative 12 divided by 2 would be negative 6. So we get the same 2 answers as we did last time, x equals 2 or x equals negative 6. So the next method is completing the square, and to complete the square on a quadratic, you first need to put the first 2 terms into a bracket, all squared, and to do that we turn x squared into just x, and then we half the coefficient of x, so half of 4 is 2. If I was to expand this, I'd end up with the x squared, I'd end up with the 4x, but then I'd also end up with a plus 4, and to adjust for that we're going to take away that 4, we've still got the minus 12, and it's still all equal to 0. Just to tidy up the minus 4 minus 12, that would be minus 16, so x plus 2 all squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So at this point here we have completed the square. We can now go on to solve the quadratic. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this 16 to both sides, so we get x plus 2 all squared is equal to 0 add 16, which is 16. We're then going to square root both sides, so we'd have x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 16. The square root of 16 is 4, so we'd have x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus 4. Now from this point we can split this 4 up into the positive and the negative, so we're going to have two linear equations of x plus 2 is equal to positive 4, or we're going to have x plus 2 is equal to negative 4. And if I take away 2 from both sides in these linear equations, the first one you're going to have 4 minus 2, which is 2, and the second one you're going to have minus 4 minus 2, which is minus 6. So we do get the same two solutions. Now an interesting point to make when you've got completing the square, if we just copy that down, x plus 2 all squared minus 16 equals 0, we can actually use this to find the turning point of our quadratic, which will come up in the next bit. So what we do is we say the coordinate of the turning point would be whatever this number here is, but it's negative, so in this case it would be negative 2, and then we take this number here, negative 16. So that there would be the turning point of the quadratic. Okay, next up let's have a look at solving graphically, and to do that we are going to need to know what the graph of this quadratic looks like. So let's type it in: y equals x squared plus 4x minus 12, and we get a parabola. So let's have a look at where this graph crosses the x-axis. These are called the roots, or these are the solutions to the quadratic, and we're particularly interested in the x part of each coordinate. So you can see x is equal to negative 6 or x is equal to 2, which are the same two solutions as we've been getting so far. Also worth noting that the turning point, which we got from completing the square earlier, is negative 2, negative 16. And the final method is using a calculator. This is probably by far the easiest method. It actually requires no real thinking. All you need to do is go home, down to equation, polynomial, and then ax squared plus bx plus c is the format that our quadratic is in. Okay, and then you just type in the coefficient of x squared, so it's x squared, so 1x squared. Okay, then we want to do 4x, okay, and then negative 12 on the end. Okay, and if we hit execute, we get the first solution, which is 2, so x equals 2. Press execute again, we get the second solution, or x is equal to negative 6. And then also this does show the turning point, so the x part of the turning point would be negative 2, and the y part would be negative 16.